If I gotta poke her eyeballs out, if I gotta bite her on the freaking finger, I'm gonna literally do whatever I can to get my hand raised. I don't care. Come hell or high water. I guarantee you, I am willing to die in there, as you guys have seen, and I'm not gonna stop until I get the victory. So I don't care if I knock her out with a pinky finger. I don't care if I submit her, with one arm again. I am going to do everything that I can, and I will do everything that I can to get my hand raised.
All right, let us say hello to the former UFC Women's Bantamweight champion, looking to become a two-time champion. She faces Raquel Pennington at UFC 307. She is the Venezuelan vixen, Julianna Pena. Julianna, good to see you. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. You have that I'm about to fight for a world title glow to you right now. I assume the excitement levels are rising by the minute in preparation for this fight.
Yeah, I feel like I've been waiting for this fight to come on for a long time. I feel like I've been just thinking about it for like the last 18 months. So I'm just ready to go in there and do it. It's actually a bit surreal that it's finally here. So I can't believe that I'm going to be saying, oh, we're leaving for the fight till on Monday. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's like a bit of surrealness going on.
Yeah, 18 months just to wait for this opportunity. But I feel like this is one of those fights that people have been watching the sport for a long time. At some point, thought to themselves, this has to be a rematch, right? Because it's so surprising that this is the first time you two have been put together after being on the same season of Tough and after being in the UFC for over a decade. It just seemed like your paths would have crossed long before this. Are you surprised this hadn't been set up before?
Yes and no. When I won the Ultimate Fighter, my trajectory was going up, and I never looked down the ladder. I was always just trying to climb up the ladder. And so for me, it's always been a thing about fighting the best and fighting for a world title and everything like that. Now that she has made it to that point, the roles are reversed a little bit in terms of me being the number one contender and her being ahead of me with holding the championship. She said it herself, and I'll just, take the words right out of her mouth. This has been 13 years in the making, and it is a bit weird that we have never had a fight lined up to face each other, but this is the first time, and it almost feels like we're on the Ultimate Fighter again, and we're going to see who the last woman standing is, and I'm willing to bet that that's going to be me.
She fought Mayra Bueno Silva for the vacant belt in January, and you felt like you had next regardless, and that obviously turned out that way. Were you a bit disappointed that Mayra Bueno Silva didn't get it done, considering it was like a year build for a fight that you weren't even a part of? It was just every interview she did, she had something to say about you, and then you were obviously asked to retort. And it just seemed like the back and forths the two of you had would have set up for just a ridiculous fight build.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny because a lot of the girls get into this, interview mindset of needing to say my name, and it doesn't matter who they're talking to or what they're talking about. Somehow or another, they're always calling me out. So that just tells me that I'm doing my job, and that just tells me that I have something that they want. And it's a good thing that the target's on my back. That means that everybody's gunning for me because I am obviously the one to be gunning for. So if anything, it's just a compliment. And I tried to tell her just to focus on your fight. You know what I mean? You don't need to be worrying about me so much. You got your hands full with who you're fighting, but they don't want to listen.
Raquel's also been saying your name a lot over the years. She hasn't had a lot of kind things to say about you either. She's been wanting this fight, like you said, 13 years in the making. Why do you think she has such an issue with you?
I think that she's got a bad taste in her mouth as far as us living together on The Ultimate Fighter and her not winning the show. I think she blames, Dana White for the fact that she didn't win, and she feels like she is the rightful person that should have won the show, but it didn't work out that way. So at the end of the day, to me, and I would never say anybody's jealous, but it just kind of comes across as jealous when they pan to her on The Ultimate Fighter, and the only thing that she's talking about is how the coaches only care about me and how everybody's only paying attention to me. And, meanwhile, I'm doing her dishes and cooking her food and, giving her makeovers and, teaching her how to walk in a dress and heels. She should be saying thank you, but instead she's saying she wants to fight me. So let's go.
Is that a bit annoying for you after all this time? Or is it just, it's so long ago, it doesn't even really matter at this point?
It's definitely so long ago that it doesn't even matter. But for me, she says that she's been, thinking about it for 13 years. And I'm just thinking to myself, I haven't thought about you for 13 years. I've just been, going up the ladder and fighting champions and fighting the best of the best. And so for me, it's just one of these things where I don't have any real animosity towards Raquel. I'll just chalk it up as, we were young and it was the fight game and it still is the fight game. And so at the end of the day, I've taken the emotion out of it and just, whittled it down to its simplest meat and potatoes form. It's a fist fight in a steel cage, and whoever wants it is going to get it. And I am going to do everything to get my hand raised come hell and high water.
Yeah, I remember watching the Hall of Fame red carpet, and you were both right next to each other doing your like different scrums. You were on like one scrum and she was like 3 feet away from you doing a different scrum. And, that basically answers what you just said, that there's no real animosity there. We're building a fight, and maybe there is some bad blood on her side and maybe a little bit on your side because you're about to get into a fight, but you were right next to each other. If things are going to pop off, they could have easily popped off there and they didn't. So
Which is hilarious. To me, it's like they have all this stuff to say about me behind my back, but nobody has anything to say to my face. You know what I mean? Which I thought was very interesting. And Kayla included. It was all they ever talk about is me, 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 me. And then they're right there. They have the opportunity to say something and they don't say anything. And of course, I'm not going to either, because obviously not my style, but I definitely would have had the last word if we needed to come to that. But it never came to that, which I was surprised to see. Like, why aren't you going to say anything now?
Have you been impressed with what Raquel has done? Because she got to the belt and she lost to Amanda and had a couple of other setbacks, but she's gotten back on the horse, hasn't lost in over 4 years, made her way back to a title shot, which a lot of people didn't think she could do. And then now has the belt. What have you made of her run over the last 4 years or so?
I would say, impressive is not the right word that I would use, but I would say, hats off to her. She has my respect. And at the end of the day, Raquel is a veteran in this sport. She's been doing it for a long time. And at the end, again, I know I said it before, but I lost my train of thought and it came back to me. She has earned it. She has earned it. And so I wouldn't necessarily say impressive is the word, but she has earned the chance and to be the champion and everything like that. So hats off to her.
Of course, how the fans of the sport can be, Julianna. It's been, over 2 years since your last fight. They had booked the third fight with Amanda Nunes for you last year, and then you unfortunately suffered an injury, and she went on to fight Irene Aldana, won, announced her retirement. And you probably hear it all the time. Folks saying, oh, why is Julianna getting this shot? She's been out. She hasn't fought in 2 years. She's coming off a loss in her last fight. Nunes retired. Kayla's here coming off the win at UFC 300. But here you are. You said you were going to fight for the belt, and you're going to fight for the belt. What's your message to the naysayers and the critics who feel you shouldn't be here?
Well, I think that not only is it unfair for somebody to beat, a 45-year-old and get one win and be able to fight for the title, and just kind of jump the line ahead of all these other girls that have been in the division for a long time, but also, there hasn't been anybody else that was ever able to stop Amanda Nunes in the fashion and in the dominant fashion that I was able to do. Even Raquel herself quit on the stool and they had to throw in the towel for her. I think that for me, I stopped and slayed the goat that no one was able to beat in over 7 years. And I think that in and of itself has kind of earned me the opportunity to say that I'm going to be fighting for the belt regardless of the layoff, especially after the second fight where, sure, on the scorecards I lost, But if you go back and watch that fight, I had a very deep armbar where that fight could have been finished in the fourth round. I had a mere flesh wound cut on my face. And yeah, absolutely. I got dropped several times, but I was never knocked out. I got back up every single time. And at the end of the day, Amanda could not finish me. She could not knock me out. She walked out of there in crutches in a wheelchair and half of her face swollen shut like she had elephantitis. And no one has been able to do that to her except me. So I think that with that being said, it's kind of like one of these things like, did you beat me? Yeah, you might have beat me on the scorecards, but if we got locked inside of a room and, they only said that one of us could come out, I'm willing to bet that that would have been me because I know that I'm a great warrior and that I'm literally going to give hell or die trying. And I was clutching onto that thing as hard as I could in my defense, and I wasn't able to get the job done, but I don't feel defeated. It went to a decision. And, aside from it being bloody and having a little cut, I never stopped and I never will.
That win over Nunes and pulling out that upset, the way you did it to become the UFC champion, I'm sure that moment is impossible to top. But getting the belt back, beating Raquel, becoming a two-time champ, silencing the doubters once again, what will that mean to you in comparison?
It will mean the world. It means that I clawed and scratched my way back up to the top of the mountain, and I got it done again. Pena two-time. That sounds good to me, and I obviously am in this sport for that reason. I want to go down in history as one of the best. I want to go down in the Hall of Fame as one of the best, and I'm not going to stop until I get there. And so I think obviously it would be hard to top that moment. I blew the roof off of the place when I beat Amanda the first time, but I'm looking forward to getting another opportunity, another crack at gold, and just looking forward to getting my hand raised.
I don't know if you're in the prediction game at this point in your career. I'm sure you're not going to say, "Oh, Raquel's going to get the better of me. It'll be a great fight." But how do you get this done? How do you get it done so Dana wraps that belt around your waist a second time?
If I gotta poke her eyeballs out, if I gotta bite her on the freaking finger, I'm gonna literally do whatever I can to get my hand raised. I don't care. Come hell or high water. I guarantee you, I am willing to die in there, as you guys have seen, and I'm not gonna stop until I get the victory. So I don't care if I knock her out with a pinky finger. I don't care if I submit her, with one arm again. I am going to do everything that I can, and I will do everything that I can to get my hand raised. And I don't know how it's going to come. I can't predict when. I'm not Nostradamus. I don't have a crystal ball. I just have confidence in myself and my game.
If all goes to plan and you paid you two times, is that what you said? I like that, by the way. You have the win over Nunes, which, like you said, nobody else has done in over a 7-year stretch. What other boxes would be left for you to check off in your career? Like, what other goals do you kind of see for yourself? I know you're not looking past Raquel, but you seem like a forward thinker as well.
Yeah, never. I don't want to ever look past anyone. I just know that I'm confident in my game. But I will say defending. I think defending and retaining my belt will be the next immediate goal after that.
You mentioned Kayla Harrison's name, who is also fighting on the card. She's fighting Ketlen Vieira. Most people believe if she gets done what she needs to get done, that she will be next, that she gets the winner of your fight, which you plan on winning. Do you believe Kayla will be next for you if all goes according to plan?
Did I mention her or did you mention her?
I mentioned her. Well, you did as well.
Nah, you did. And then I had no choice but the rebuttal. I'm joking. The UFC is very strategic in what they want to do and what they have to do. And I guarantee you told them that the winner of that fight will face me in the next title challenge. So yes, that's exactly right. That whoever wins out of there will be fighting for the belt. And I'm not sure. All I know for a fact is that she should quit saying my name and focus on the girl that she has to fight in front of her, because Caitlin ain't no slouch. So looking forward to seeing who wins that fight and who my next opponent will be.
By the way, did I see that you met Hulk Hogan?
Yes. I'm actually.
How did that happen?
I'm actually sponsored. I'm their first sponsored athlete for Real American Beer. And that's how that happened. He came out with a new beer. It's crisp, it's light, it's fantastic, it's great. You can buy it at your local grocery store in most states. and they decided to sponsor an athlete, and I'm the first one that they got behind. So very proud supporter, very proud partner to be working with Real American Beer and the Hulk Hogan.
Were you a Hulkamaniac growing up? What was that like for you
Absolutely.
being able to meet
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, no, it was a dream come true. You see why those heroes that, you looked up to growing up are those heroes. He was extremely genuine, polite, respectful. I got a chance to speak with him at length, very closely while his highlights were going on the TV. And we got to go through him fighting, the Iron Sheik and Ric Flair and Randy Macho Man Savage and, did I already say the Iron Sheik, Andre the Giant, so just watching him do his thing and being like, where were you here? And what were you thinking here? And what did you have to think here? And, oh, how was that match? And just getting a chance to pick his brain on his career and, the highlights that were just in front of our faces for, those 15 minutes. It was really cool to get a chance to, meet one of your heroes growing up. And he's just everything that he is on TV is except more, extremely genuine. And it was a pleasure to be able to spend that amount of time with him.
Well, as Hulk Hogan says, hopefully you said your prayers, trained, and taking your vitamins in this fight camp, or we're just days away from your opportunity to become a two-time UFC Women's Bantamweight champion, facing Raquel Pennington, co-main event of UFC 307. Of course, the main event is Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree. Who do you think wins that fight, by the way, before I let you go?
I'm not sure. I'm too focused on my own fight and what I got to do to worry about anybody else. So not my monkey, not my circus.
Fair enough, but you're going to set the table. So thank you, Julianna. I appreciate it. And all the best to you fight week and in the fight itself.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time. Have a good one.